New Garnier Men Acno Fight Gentle Cleanser. ये है gentle on skin, tough on pimples.
Well, it's just their third group game in this World Cup, and I didn't think I'll have to say it in the build-up, but Australia will fight to stay alive effectively in this tournament. A loss doesn't remove them definitely, but it leaves their fate hanging with some very thin hopes. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, have the chance to perhaps put an end to, in all practical purposes, an Australian campaign. So there's enough incentive for the co-hosts as we look at the game at Kandy ahead of this evening, after we've just recovered from what could have been an incredible Italy win against England. Well, good evening and welcome to ESPN Cricket Info Timeout, powered by Garnier Men. The fine company of G-Stats with me, just you and me, Gaurav. How does that sound?
It's good for the change.
For a change? Why you didn't like the company of whoever else is there?
No, just something different from what we have every day. We're just two people here. We have two really good experts joining us.
Yeah, we have two really good guests joining us. Okay. The senior T20 analyst has built them up in his own very measured way. But hello, Parvez Maroof. Parvez, the whole world has come to Sri Lanka for the World Cup. You've gone away from Sri Lanka. Where are you right now?
Yeah, staying away from the limelight for once. Yeah, good to see the VVIPs in the show. Even the president of the country was in attendance. So yeah, I think India-Pakistan played, but at the end of the day, the real victorious side was Sri Lanka, with everything happened around Sri Lanka.
Okay, well done. And you've also given me a great nugget. So while I was going to welcome back now a good friend of the show, he was with us in the Champions Trophy and he's terrific. He's nowhere near a former cricketer. Don't ever make that mistake. Ashton Agar is still a more than capable international. And Parvez, you have given me even more information on Ashton. Why don't you tell us what you just told us before we were on air about Ashton Agar and why this is an appropriate game for him to start off today?
Yeah, last time when Ashton toured Sri Lanka, about I think couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, we found out that he has half a Sri Lankan in him. His mother is from Sri Lanka, has lived about 10 minutes away from my house, and the father has schooled in Kandy, so there's a Sri Lankan living in him. So, I'm pretty sure that he'll be rooting half a side to Sri Lanka as well today.
Are you, Ashton?
Oh, it's a big call, isn't it? Particularly when I've played against Sri Lanka. I mean, I'm going to have a lot of relatives in Sri Lanka, probably at the game tonight, which would be fantastic. I love having some Sri Lankan blood in me, but firmly going for Australia tonight. I hope it's a good game.
Good man. Welcome back, Ashton. Delighted to have you back on our network. I want to start with you, and even before I get into that shock of the tournament, which it remains now with Zimbabwe beating Australia, I was reading some chit-chat from the Australian journalists and the media people in cricket about whether this World Cup actually matters as much to everyone back home, whether there's as much interest in the men's T20 World Cup in Australia as we might like to believe in our part of the world, how this is the ultimate thing going on in cricket right now. Put it into perspective for us. How much interest is this World Cup genuinely generating back home?
Oh, there's a lot. I think, particularly after such a strong Ashes campaign, I think it was one of the biggest Ashes we've witnessed in Australia because of the crowd attendance and the style of cricket that was played. We had a really successful Big Bash campaign over here in Australia, so cricket is on everybody's minds, and there's a lot of stars in that team that everyone wants to see perform. We're missing a few of the big names that we're used to. Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood. I mean, when's the last time we've had a competition with those three not having any impact, which is quite strange. So maybe there's that odd sort of feel around it, but there's an Australian team in the park. All of Australia will be going for them. They want to win, and it was a shock loss to Zimbabwe, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I'll talk about that more. So there is no merit in the point of the summer in Australia is obviously big when the Ashes were around, but now that the seasons have changed, the focus is on other sport. There's none of that, right? This T20 World Cup is still generating the interest that this tournament would?
Yeah, absolutely. It's still firmly cricket season here in Australia. I think AFL season doesn't start for another while longer, so it is firmly cricket season. I mean, it's 35 degrees here every day in Perth. The WACA, there was a game on today. There's games on all around the country still. Club cricket, it's all still cricket season, so there will be a lot of people tuning in tonight to watch.
Brilliant. Let's talk about the biggest story of this World tournament so far as results go. Zimbabwe beating Australia. Now, when you analysed that game and you broke it down, before I get Ashton's reaction to it too, what did you pick up most? What is it with this Australian team that caused for that shock upset?
I was actually surprised that they chose to chase the in Premadasa in a day game. I think that was a bit of a surprise, considering that batting first, putting on a score would have been the best way to go. And I thought they were a bit too aggressive in the power play. I think it was more like I would say more in the slightly tactical and not in terms of skills. I think they were pretty good, but in terms of tactics, like they went too hard in the power play like they usually do. I think in Premadasa you're required to set that platform before you actually go deep, and I think it's slightly were too dependent on Adam Zampa to get those wickets. Very rarely you see a T20 innings, Ronak, with just 2 wickets fallen and scoring about 170 odd, right? Very rare.
The Zimbabwe innings, this is an unusual kind of T20 scorecard.
Yeah, they opened with Marcus Stoinis, which was a bit of a surprise. I think they kind of misread the conditions. Maybe they thought that there'll be a lot of nip and swing early on, and where they can kind of get some early wickets and put pressure on Zimbabwe. But it was very hard to bat, but it needed a lot of running, which Australia didn't do as much as what they did against Ireland.
But they did have a good game against Ireland, right? The kind of exact game we expect Australia to have.
Yeah, they did have a great game, but in such tournaments, you cannot afford early losses. So that's put the pressure on them.
Ashton, just respond to that in terms of what you've picked up. Firstly, the reaction to going down to Zimbabwe, and how much of what GS says adds up, and whether you have anything more to add.
Yeah, first of all, the reaction, I think we expect to beat Zimbabwe, but the good thing about all the teams in this World Cup now, because of all the T20 opportunities around the world, every team is better, and the teams that are considered maybe minor nations in cricket certainly don't play like that anymore, because they're getting opportunities around the world, and they're all coming back better teams. We're seeing that, from Italy today, which is incredible. So, and then to the point of how we played against Zimbabwe, I agree with every point that was made. I think probably made the wrong decision batting versus bowling first, and then we didn't maximise on the power play. I think batting power plays are so important in this World Cup when we're seeing slower wickets that might take some spin. Using that new ball is super important. We saw Ishan Kishan do that really well last night, and then the ball started spinning a long way, and then by the end of the innings the ball was spinning even further. So it's those little things, those little decisions that you make, and maybe swallowing your ego, swallowing your pride a little bit, setting the foundation, and that the longer you get in the game, the easier it gets on these pitches.
All right, on that note, let's just give you confirmed news from Pallekele that Sri Lanka have won the toss. They've put Australia in to bat. So Sri Lanka will bowl first, and Farvez will just look at the points table once to confirm what's at stake in this particular group. Who thought this would be the group of death? When you had England and the West Indies with Nepal, you also had Afghanistan, South Africa, New Zealand club, but this is very much now in effect the group of death here. Remember, Zimbabwe play Ireland tomorrow. That is a huge game. If Zimbabwe can capitalize on the great result against Australia and not just leave it left less consequential if they go down in their next one. Oman, with due respect to them, it does look like every team is likely to get the better of Oman with the form that we've seen so far. Now, Sri Lanka sit pretty on top. It's 2 wins out of 2. Given what happened in the last game against Australia, Farvez, let's break down whether this is even more incentive for Sri Lanka to potentially knock Australia out with a lot of cricket still to play. And they have, of course, selected to bowl first here.
No, not many times in our careers that we get an opportunity to knock out a champion side like Australia. So I think this is a great opportunity. And Sri Lanka winning the toss and bowling first in Pallekele, I think is a sensible decision. Though Sri Lanka won against Ireland, won against Oman, batting first, but the real strength is chasing down. And when you chase it down, you expect the top 3 to score runs. So I reckon going into this game, Sri Lanka for once against Australia will start as favourites. But I will take nothing away with an Australian side, which is experience. And the word coming in is Mitchell Marsh is back. So he's a player who enjoys pace and bounce, and he enjoys playing in the subcontinent. So someone to look out to. And I would expect a good game. First game under lights in Pallekele, and under lights always special to play in Pallekele. So I'm looking forward to it.
I read in our preview, which was filed 24 hours prior by Andrew McGlashan, that Sri Lanka and Australia have not played each other in a T20I since the 2022 World Cup. I found that shocking. Or is it shocking? 3 years, you don't have 2 full member teams playing a T20 anywhere?
There's just so many T20s, they don't tend to remember these bilateral tournaments, honestly, but I actually don't remember them playing.
Yeah,
much.
but it's true. They've not played for 3 years, which is why I found that like bizarre. Now 4, we're in 2026, aren't we? Ashton, very bad. Very, very bad.
Yeah, it's odd. I was surprised at that as well. But my nations playing against each other.
Okay, there are sweeping changes, I must say, to the Australian 11. And as soon as we have them, we will get down to a team. There we go, we have them. Welcome back, Captain Mitchell Marsh. Right, so Mitchell Marsh is in, Cooper Connolly is in, and Xavier Bartlett is in as well. So there are lots of changes. Matt Renshaw out, Matthew Kuhneman out, Ben Dwarshe is out. Ashton, reactions?
I'm surprised that Kuhneman is out. I thought he might be quite dangerous, but they've obviously looked at the wicket and think that maybe a little bit more batting depth and the way that Coops has been bowling recently, particularly in the Big Bash, got quite a lot of wickets, and I think they feel that he can do that job and add that little bit of extra batting there. I think Bartlett is a wonderful addition. He'll swing the ball, and particularly under lights, he could make things really difficult as well. I quite like that team. I think it's really well balanced.
Yes.
I just have a question to Ashton. In terms of Matt Renshaw, he was easily your best batter in the last 2 games, and I felt that he was the person who adds that kind of stability to this whole team, who are actually batting with a lot of intent throughout the innings. I thought Renshaw played really well. Isn't that a tough call?
That's a really tough call, and I think when you've got a lot of good players, that's always going to be difficult calls. I mean, the thing about Matt Renshaw, is an excellent player of spin as well, and Sri Lanka are going to have some good spinners. They're going to try and bowl a lot of that at us as well. So that's a huge call, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. But like I said, I think they've got some guys in there who they believe can do the damage tonight.
Okay, I'd like to see what kind of surface we expect. Farwez, what kind of surface do you think we'll get? I know it's independent curators, but Pallekele has shown it's one of the better batting surfaces.
Just reading the pitch report in the Cricket Info app, it says Russell has said that there is in line of the stumps there's enough grass to keep batters interested, the ball skidding on, and he reckons that it might turn a little bit. I reckon it all depends on the dew factor. Usually Pallekele, if there is grass on top, if it's rolled in nicely, don't expect the ball to turn much, but I still believe a wrist spinner might get some turn. So this is where Dushan Hemantha, Adam Zampa will have a say especially in the middle overs once the ball softens up a little bit. So for me it's going to be the power play. I mean, if Australia can get to a good start with Travis said, Mitchell Marsh and Josh Inglis, Cameron Green, those are proven players, and with the new ball, Sri Lanka will most likely go with Dushmantha and Mahesh Theekshana. That's the game will be won or lost in my opinion in the power play. Whoever sets the tone, probably will have a bigger say at the end of the game.
We broke down some numbers for all of you folks to just get a better understanding of what to expect at Pallekele, and we did a detailed chat on the Premadasa yesterday, didn't we? But as we compare pace and spin, what do the numbers tell us? Average 18.3, sorry, economy, no, that has to be the other way around, surely. Average 18.3 and economy of 7.4 for spinners. Just swap that around, do a little work yourself. But yes, main takeaways from...
Yeah, I think it's not a surprise, but I think this venue is slightly better for batting compared to Premadasa. So I think what Parvez said is absolutely right in terms of I think Sri Lanka would prefer to see the target and chase it accordingly. I think spin will always be will play a big role in Sri Lankan venues, and I'm sure they're going to attack Australia more with spin, because we've seen that is one of the areas where Australia will generally struggle. So if there's no dew, the dew plays such a big role nowadays in T20 cricket.
Yes.
So I think if dew comes, match could go in one way. If dew doesn't come, the likes of Zampa and the cutters from Bartlett and Ellis could play a big role. But if dew is there, then I don't know how that's going to affect the chances.
Okay, Ashton, just very quickly your thoughts on the surface. Maybe Australia thought they'd get perhaps a much more spin-friendly surface over here. I'll just repeat what Farwez has mentioned on the pitch report, where his good buddy and Russell Arnold has said it'll turn slightly. Good covering of grass, lot more grass in line with the stumps as opposed to other areas. Now, please break that down if you were in the Australian camp.
Well, it does sound like Sri Lanka might have read it. I mean, they're going to know the local conditions better than anyone, and it does seem like they probably believe the dew will come in if they're going to have Australia batting first. I think they must think that there's going to be dew coming in. It's going to be a lot more difficult for the Australian bowlers to get any purchase on the ball. Any swing will get nullified very early, and the ball will slide onto the bat under the lights if that dew does come in, and if there is that grass coverage on the wicket. I mean, it is very different to the Colombo wicket. I've played on both, and you expect a lot of spin in Colombo, and maybe not as much in Kandy, but you know, it feels like there is always a trick that the pitch plays in the subcontinent. So I'm just hoping we get some sort of surprise that makes it a close one in Australia's favour.
What do you mean subcontinent? When have we ever done anything to a pitch that disadvantages a travelling Australian side? Nonsense.
Hey, we've got difficult green ones over here as well. We've got green difficult ones over here.
Okay, it's Sri Lanka's team. Let's confirm the one change for the co-hosts, and that is the inclusion now of Kusal Perera for Kamil Mishara. Farvez.
It was coming. It was been spoken about in the last probably 2-3 days after the Oman game. Once Kamil Mishara failed that game, it was like his last chance, because if Kusal Perera is in the squad, there's no point in warming the benches. He should be playing in the playing 11. If not, he shouldn't be not in the 15 because of his experience. So I reckon Kusal Perera, usually when he comes back after an injury or after being dropped, he has a point to prove, and he's proven with big numbers. So I just hope that Kusal Perera, that we usually know, flamboyant, goes out there, no fear, just goes after the bowling. I think that's what Sri Lanka will be hoping from Kusal Perera, because that will ease the pressure on Pathum Nissanka and Kusal Mendis. Batting at opening and number 3 with Kusal Mendis. The pressure will be taken off. And with Cooper Conley, left arm spinner, Adam Zamba, right arm leg spinner, both bowlers turning the back into the left hander. So I think Kusal Janit Perera, if he can hold his wicket, at least those bowlers come in, he can really hurt the Australians, because Australians, remember, playing with 4 frontline bowlers, and then the 5th bowler role has to be filled in by Cam Green, Maxwell and Stoiner. So that's one area Sri Lanka could hurt Australia as well. So this game is going to be all tactical, Ronak. I just feel that tactically you just got to get it spot on.
Very good. Yes, I'm going to make you go deeper into tactics in a moment. But before we move to actual in-game tactics for this, quick word from you, Ashton, on just Steve Smith's confirmed inclusion into the squad. A number of us were thinking, right, are Australia looking at Smith as a big player here? If Marsh doesn't recover, could he potentially lead? Is he simply just a squad player now, the great Steve Smith, in this T20I side?
Well, I mean, he gives them more flexibility in probably the top 4 now. I don't see him batting anywhere outside the top 4 if he does play. But he just gives that extra depth that if they believe someone isn't playing as well as they would like, you've got one of the best batters in the world who is in incredible form coming into the squad, and that gives the squad a lot of confidence, and that would give the selectors a lot of confidence to play the sides that they wish to play, and remove that sort of fear around selection and what if it goes this way, what if it goes that way sort of thing. So depth in these tournaments is important. As long as Australia get through this one, you never know what's going to happen with injuries. You've got to see how Mitch pulls up from this game. That's a really important one to see how he goes, because I know he's been really sore, in the last week. So, but Steve Smith's inclusion gives Australia a massive couple of options.
All right, just short of 300 runs, of course, for the Sixers in an extraordinary Big Bash League campaign at a strike rate of nearly 170 for Stephen Smith. We wait to see if we see him in an Australian playing 11. For the time being, let's focus on another key figure of their batting lineup, Travis Head. GS has worked with him, of course, has inspired him to take that ceiling to even higher levels in the IPL with the Sunrisers. But recent struggles suggest a pattern against spin. GS?
With Travis Head, it's very unique. Actually, form really doesn't matter with Travis Head. Even leading up to the Ashes, if I remember right, he was actually not scoring a run, but he had a great Ashes series. He's that kind of a player who actually is very, you just don't know what you expect from him. So I wouldn't look too much into numbers when it comes to Travis Head. He's obviously a much better player against spin than what the numbers show. We've seen him take down spin. In fact, even off spin, one of the success stories of Abhishek Sharma and Travis Head in the IPL is because a lot of teams cannot bowl off spin. So if you look at those numbers, obviously against spin he strikes at 87, average is 5.2. It doesn't actually tell the true picture. Maybe he's struggling right now. Maybe it could be a nature of pitches, or maybe it's just that he's been playing with intent he's not taking time.
Yeah.
That's the way he plays, and I think it's just a matter of time. I think he just needs maybe slightly good batting conditions to maybe get him back to form. But I think in this format, Ronak, like I always say, it's the impact. So if he can make a good 30 or 15 and give them a good start and win the power play, I think that's, like, I would say his job is done. So let's see. Today Theekshana is going to come in, and I know that Travis Head likes to take these spinners down, so he might step down, try to hit Theekshana. He will play the slog sweep, and it could go for 6, or you could get him LBW.
I mean, I totally take your point, right? Because of what Travis Head has done at higher stakes and levels, you almost think you're never worried about Travis Head. But those are astonishing numbers, to be honest. Anyone else who got, and for a decent sample size, 12 innings, an average of 12.8, and it's not like the strike rate's 200 or something, it's 125, and that just goes further down against spin. Ashton, can you make sense of that?
No, it's hard to, isn't it, with such a good player, such an amazing Ashes series as well. You know, he plays Test cricket like T20s and makes bowlers all around the world look a bit stupid sometimes. But one thing about Trav is that he loves big games. He speaks about it all the time. There's something in him, there's that competitive beast in him, and he just wants to perform on the biggest stage in biggest games, and I think that brings out the best in him. I'm interested tonight to see how he goes against Theekshana, particularly if Theekshana spins one early. If he bowls an off break at him that spins, that could be interesting. Then both edges of the bat are in play. But I think he'll have a lot of confidence with Mitch Marsh at the other end as well. They've created a good bond together, and having them back together now finally in this tournament is big for Australia, but it might just be good for how they bounce off one another, and who knows, we might get that big opening partnership that we need.
All right, excellent. Return of Mitch Marsh, therefore, could provide more than just a solid batter and captain that he is, might actually open up Travis Head. So that is something to look out for now. Faraz Maru said this is going to come down to tactics. Theekshana's someone we're mentioning who could have a matchup against Travis Head very early, with Sri Lanka winning the toss and bowling first. So Mahesh Theekshana better be match ready. And on that note, it is time for our match ready face with a Ganya Men Acne Fight Gentle Cleanser. All right, let's break it down. On Theekshana started the tournament in excellent form, isn't it, GS? 5 wickets, which is the most for Sri Lanka's bowlers so far, and that is the likeliest matchup we're expecting for Travis Head in the power play?
Absolutely, and Theekshana has best use in the power play. He bowls 2 overs, if not 3. I think he'll bowl 2 usually, and these guys have played each other quite a lot of times. I'm sure Mitchell Marsh is going to try to slog sweep him and get ahead of him very early on. Travis Head will do the same thing. If he misses his length, he's going to drive him or cut him in the offside. So I'm sure Australia have their game plans. They're not the kind of players who will try to be tentative or try to see him out, especially in the power play. It's very interesting to see how the previous game impact what that has on this game. That is something I'm very curious to see, because the last game they saw the conditions and they felt they went too hard and maybe they want to set a platform. But here maybe the conditions are good to kind of capitalize on the power play, and maybe they might be a bit tentative. I'm very curious to see if they want to continue to stick their approach and try to go after the bowling from scratch. And I was seeing some older games at Kandy. I think you need to be aggressive in the power play. I think you can aim for 55 to 60 in the power play. So I think they have to go after them.
So you almost have to put that game out now. It's not like the same venue, similar sort of problems. Okay, interesting. Farvez, give us the bigger picture on Theekshana here. I don't think it was long back that we were discussing Theekshana's dip in form and a fairly flat IPL 2025, at least as I remember. And now is he bowling at his best again from what you're seeing?
I think best is yet to come. Looking at how he performed in the first couple of games with Anigo Hasaranga, breaking down, he took the responsibility being the leading spinner. And listening to what GS said about Mahesh Theekshana against Travis Head and Mitchell Marsh, I like to add Dushman Chamir to that mix. I think Dushman Chamir's record in Pallekele with the new ball is exceptional. So I think with the bit of grass on the pitch, he will enjoy a bit of bounce, bit of movement. So more than Mahesh Theekshana threatening the two Aussie batters, I reckon Dushman Chamira will be a key going forward. And GS also said that Mahesh Theekshana against Travis Head might dance down the track. And I don't think that's the right way to go forward, because Mahesh Theekshana always give the pace. He's going to go bowl quick, so you rather stay in the crease, go through the line. That's where the batters who are successful against Mahesh Theekshana use that tactic. So It's going to be Thikshan and Dushman Chamir at least 4 overs or maybe even 5 overs up top against Mitchell Marsh, Josh English, and Travis Head in the top order. This is going to be the battle that I really looking forward to watch.
Interesting. Anything to add to that, GS? In terms of key matchups, are you agreeing with Farwez? This is mainly down to power play?
Yeah, I think so. I think it will be. And Pathirana started bowling in the power play as well. So his 1 over could also be pretty important. And the kind of rhythm Pathirana has will also kind of set this game up.
We've got a interesting matchup in front as well there. Ashton, Thikshana versus Maxwell. Now I'm smirking as I say this because I remember what Maxwell tends to respond to when you throw matchups at him. And he said it in a few press conferences. It's 4 dismissals, I think, in 10 innings. There we go. But yeah, break that one down for us, Ashton. Another key sort of contest that you'd be looking forward to.
It is a key contest. I think a little bit depends on how the wicket plays. Maxwell is, I think he's considered one of the better players to spin in the Australian side, and he's got that ability to hit all around the ground. But like I said, I'm so interested to see if Thikshana gets one to spin. I think on wickets like this, when there is a little bit of grass, but there is a bit of purchase, spinners are really difficult because you're not sure which edge of the bat to defend. You're defending the inside, you don't know whether it's going to spin or not, and that's really dangerous. Sometimes when you've got a wicket that's consistently spinning, you can set up for the one that spins, or if you've got an absolute road, you're just hitting through the line of the ball. But these wickets are the ones that can be dangerous, and that, I think, determines that battle between Thikshana and Maxwell. I think if it's not spinning and it's flat, I think Maxi will definitely try and get after him.
Okay. GS, you've also done some digging on a big story for a big player, Matisha Pathirana. It's not just national sides, but I'm sure the Knight Riders are keeping a close eye on him. And you've dug up a potential concern about his death overs bowling.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pathirana has been someone, is a banker. And if he gets going, it's really good for the team and they kind of win more games. I think the win percentage of Pathirana when he does well is close to about, 60%.
Okay.
And this is his record, as you can see, till the 2024 World Cup. His economy was 7.9.
Right.
In T20 I's, it's 8.1. And in death overs, 8.5. That's pretty fabulous. That's among the elite kind of fast bowlers.
Okay.
And on top of that, he used to get a lot of wickets, as you can see from the strike rate, right? 14, 12, 9, guaranteed 2 wickets in a game, and the fact that he bowls those Yorkers, not easy to get underneath, and that's why he was valued so high. But post 2024, I think a lot of people have spoken about it, the kind of action change he's had. The release point has kind of gone differently from what it was. It's gone slightly above. I'm sure Parvez will have more to add to that. His economy has become 9.2, and T20 I's it's 8.1, death overs 9.3. So again, batsmen are not like really. He does get wickets,
yeah,
but he goes for
there's not a big difference in the strike rate.
Yeah, he does get wickets, but he goes for 40, 45 runs.
Got it.
And he does concede a lot of boundaries. And one of the primary reason for that is Yorker, which is his most important delivery, go-to delivery. The Yorker success rate has come down drastically. So a lot more full tosses, a lot more wider balls. So if you look at that, it's 62% before and 36% now in terms of success rate. So this is an interesting metric which we use to generally measure bowlers. They'll have an intention of bowling the Yorkers or not, but sometimes it may not land correctly, right?
Very good.
So the intent is still good. So the process is right, but execution is a problem, and that could be either technical or maybe sometimes mental, right? So that's where I think somebody is working with him. I saw him a little bit in the IL T20, and after that, just the last couple of games, and I think against England he bowled really well.
Yeah.
So I see him coming back closer to his original action, but again the release point was still slightly different from what it was pre-2024. So he's going to be an important player, and we'll see how he goes.
Okay, Farwez, add to that, how much of this is technical and what kind of action, how would you currently describe his action? Is it close to his old one? Is it something different? Is it something new?
Do I have to add anything? I think GS covered everything. I think he was spot on with everything what he said. I just have to applaud GS with number of homework he has done. And certainly only one thing I'll say, well done GS. Only one thing I'll say to Matisha Pathirana, when things are going well, just don't change. And it sometimes happens when you have too much coaching in the franchise setup, in the national setup. Just understand what works for you and stick to it. I've told him personally, because he plays to my club, and he came through the under-19 rank, and I'm quite close to him. Simple message from me to him is to keep it really simple and work on what works for you, and rather than listen to too many people. So if he can do that in the future, with he's only about 24, 25, long future ahead. He can be a world beater, because at 25, Lasith Malinga did not have the slow ball until he was about 27, and Matisha Pathirana started bowling and he mastered the slow ball when he was about 22, 23. So when it comes to skill level, he's up there, but just that mentally, he got to be much more stronger.
All right, terrific. Well, good luck, Matisha Pathirana and the rest of the Sri Lankan side against an Australian team under pressure. But who on earth would count Australia out? Right. On that note, let's get to predictions. Chamira has ball in hand. The Australian captain, Mitch Marsh, good to see him back out. And Travis Head is with him. Now, Farwez has a reputation to live up to. He's way more accurate than poor Pathirana's Yorkers in the last year. So, Farwez, kick us off.
Right, I'm going to go Australia. 174 for 7.
174 for 7. He gets very specific, Ashton. Now you don't need to be as specific, but I know you're a man who actually doesn't mind giving me the odd specific number too. Go for it.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I'm going to say 6 wickets down, and if the wicket is good, I'm going to go with 180.
180 for 6 from Ashton Ega. G-Stats?
I'm competing against two people with home advantage. So it's not easy.
Ashton's only got half home advantage.
I will go slightly on the lower side today. I think Australia will be like 163 for 9.
163. I love 160 games. You know how much I love 160 games. I think those are the most awesome games. It doesn't really matter what I say. I've already got the 3 of you. So let it be there. Let's leave it there. Oh, you know what? I'll go for it. Come on, Pallekele, give us some runs. I'll go 190. So I would have gone somewhere with you all. But let's go 190. Wow. And I'm still going to back Sri Lanka. Okay, Farwez? Or I don't know.
Yes, Ronak.
I'll see how I feel at half time. I can flip-flop. Farwez, thank you very much. Ashton Ega, let's talk in 20 overs. And GS, brilliant as always. Look forward to your company then for what is a really important game in this group in the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. So we'll see how Australia stand at the end of 20 overs on ESPN Cricket for Timeout, powered by Garnier Men.
New Garnier Men Acno Fight Gentle Cleanser. ये है gentle on skin, tough on pimples.